Okay, today is the fifth lesson. It's Pre-Algebra Worksheet 4. What you're learning how to do today is combine variables, which are letter x's, and the numbers. And remember, the letter x is eventually going to be a number on the x-axis. Okay? So in this problem, we have 2x minus 2 minus 5x minus 4. The 2x is going to be two open rectangles. We're going to use open rectangles for x's, shaded rectangles for negative x's. Then we have minus 2. There's no letter right here, so we're going to draw two shaded squares. Minus 5x, which would be 5 shaded rectangles, and a minus 4, which would be 4 shaded squares. It's very important that you are visualizing what this looks like when we go to as we go through this. Eventually, you're not going to be drawing these shapes, but you need to be able to visualize them. Now then, notice we can only combine the rectangles together and we can only combine the squares together. So if I were to group my rectangles, I would have 2x minus 5x, and if I were to group my squares, I would have negative 2 minus 4, wouldn't I? So on the 2x minus 5x, these are open, these are shaded, we could scratch out. We have more shaded squares, so the sign's negative. We scratch 2 away from 5 is 3, and our variable is x. Notice we're going to write down sign, number, letter. And then over here, all of the squares are shaded. So if I were to combine the 2 and the 4, I would have 6 shaded squares. My sign would be negative, my number 6. So the answer to this, the simplified answer to this, is negative 3x minus 6. Now then, we're going to go down and do a couple at the bottom. And let's go ahead and do number 2. We're going to draw negative 3, which is 3 shaded squares. Just squiggle them in. And then we need a 2x, which is 2 rectangles. A minus 2 is 2 shaded squares. And then a minus 4x is 4 shaded squares. Or 4 shaded rectangles, I should say. Okay, so we have our problem done. Notice we're going to do the rectangles first, then do the squares. Our rectangles are not the same color, are they? Okay. So we're going to take 2 away. I could scratch out 2 0 pairs, and I would have 2 shaded rectangles left. So my sign would be negative, my number would be 2, my letter would be x. Notice in the problem I have more 4s than I do 2s, so my sign is negative. I would take 2 away from 4 because the signs are opposite. 2 away from 4 is 2, and my variable is x. Now then, I'm going to concentrate on the squares. I have more 3s than 2s, don't I? So the sign in front of the 3 is minus. And since they're the same, they're all shaded, I'm going to add up the 2 and 3 and get a 5. So try to get this to where you're doing sign, number, letter, sign, number. Get the sign, get the number. Get the sign, get the number. And let's do number 3. On number 3, I'm going to have 3 rectangles open. This will be the last one I do with you on this lesson. Minus 5, draw 5 shaded squares. Just squiggle them in. Then a minus 2, draw 2 shaded squares. And then a minus 3x, draw 3 shaded rectangles. Okay, do the rectangles first, do the squares. My rectangles are not the same, are they? Some are open, some are shaded. So I'm going to scratch out 0 pairs. Every time you scratch out a positive, you scratch out a negative. Notice all of the x's cancel out. So the x's are going to eliminate to 0. I will not have an x in my answer. I have more 5s than I do 2s. I have more 5s than I do 2s, so my sign negative will drop. And notice that all the squares are the same. I would have 7 shaded squares, wouldn't I? So write down the sign, then get the number. It's important you're trying to do sign, number, sign, number. Enjoy the worksheet. Tomorrow we're going to repeat this activity so you get used to visualizing these rectangles and squares. And remember to always believe.